Hello everyone, Luther here from YakAttack. What I've got here today is our new crate. It's called the BlackPak. And what we're going to do on film here today is just put one of these together. We've got a lot of people that are going to be receiving these crates pretty soon, so we wanted to put together a quick video to kind of show how this process takes place. So basically what you're going to get with your BlackPak is you're going to get a stack of panels. You're going to get 4 little triangular interlocks, 2 rails for the top of the crate, 4 feet, and then some hardware. So to start this thing off is pretty simple. We're just going to take one of the rails. We're going to lay it out. Oh yeah, the only tool you're going to need for this install is a screwdriver, by the way. So we're just going to lay this top rail out. We're going to take one of the end panels, which is the smaller panel. We're just going to fit it right down into the groove that's made into that top rail. That'll kind of stand there. Then we're going to take one of the side panels, which is the longer panel, and we're going to fit it into the other groove, the little short groove in the top rail. And we're also going to press it into the groove that's machined into the end panel. Take the other side panel and do the same thing. So now we've got the thing kind of standing here. What we're going to do is just take on the 2 corners that are fitted up, we're just going to take the feet. The feet have little notches cut in it so that it's made to fit this little castellated area here. We're just going to take this foot and press it so that it's fully interlocked on there. I can look at the ends here and make sure I don't have a gap. So that I know that's seated all the way down. Then we're going to do the same thing in the other corner. Okay, everything's machined to be a pretty snug fit, so it may require a little bit of force, but it shouldn't take too much. So now we're just going to take this entire thing and kind of stand it up. So now we're going to take our bottom panel, which is the one that's just flat. It's got countersinks in the 4 corners, and with the countersinks turned towards the inside of the crate, we're just going to take this thing and slide it right down into the groove that's machined in the side panels. These things are still kind of flexible because we don't have the other end panel on, so you can kind of manipulate it as you need to get this thing in place. Now once you get it all the way down, what should happen is these corners here should fit flush. If the bottom panel is raised up, it means it's not all the way down. It should fit flush. If you just kind of press on it, they should line up just fine if you have to. Nothing wrong with a nice little tap there to make sure it's all the way down. Now once that's flush, we're just going to take the last end panel and fit it onto the remaining side. Again, we're just going to make sure that this panel is pushed down everywhere. Now we can take the remaining 2 feet, snap them on. Alright, so now the crate will kind of hold itself together so we can put it back upright. And it's a little bit difficult to see on film, but on the inside, those 4 countersinks that are in the bottom panel, they're now aligned with holes that are in the feet. So we can take our little number 10 by 1/2 inch long screws that came with the kit, and we're just going to put those in the 4 corners and tighten them up. Keep in mind here, you're screwing these screws into plastic. You don't need to go overboard with tightening them. Just make sure they're good and snug. That's all you're really after. You'll feel it when it tightens up. Once it gets to that point, just stop. It's not that difficult to strip it out if you're not careful. Alright, so once these 4 feet are attached, we really just had this top rail on here at this stage as an assembly aid to kind of help us get things stuck together, but it's not quite time for that yet, so we'll take that back off. Now we're going to take the little interlocks. You'll notice these on one side, there's a hole. On the other side, you can see there's a stainless steel nut pressed in. What we want to do with these, I'm just going to position the second camera so you can get a good look at it. And this is a black crate, so it's a little bit hard to get the lighting just right. But there are some notches that are machined into the inside of the side panel and the end panel. And you want to fit the little interlock where the stainless steel nut that's pressed in is facing down. And you want to fit it first into the side panel. Go to the opposite side of the crate, fit that one into that side panel. And then you can take the end panel, push it towards it, and it'll snap into that groove. So now the corners fitted up nice and tight, and our interlocks are contained because of the way the grooves are machined in the crate. Now we can take this top crate rail and just snap it in place, and that's going to hold that side together while we do the same thing on the other side. So fitting them first into the side panel, and then bringing the end panel in. And then we're going to drop the next rail on top. Okay, so now you can see that we've only put 4 screws in this crate. It's already kind of held together. It doesn't really want to come apart. Everything's pretty sturdy. We still need to put some more screws in it to finish it, but the point of that is so that you understand that the strength of the crate is not really coming from the screws. It's coming from the way that the panels interlock. The only thing the screws are really doing is holding all those interlocking members together, and that's what gives it such incredible strength. So now we're just going to take, we've got 4 1/4 20 black screws, and these are going to go through the crate rails down into the threads that are pressed into the interlocks. Now those nuts that are in the interlocks, they're just kind of lightly pressed in there. They're pretty easy to push out. So when we tighten these up, we don't want to push down on the screw really hard because we'll just pop the nuts right out. So what I'm going to do is just hold my finger on the back side here and just hold enough pressure on that nut so that it doesn't slide down. And I'm just going to tighten up this screw. Now again, just as before, when it's tight, it's tight. We don't need to go crazy here trying to really torque this thing down. Now the last 2. Now I don't recommend using a power drill driver for this. It's going to be real easy to strip things out or over tighten them. So just take your time, use a regular screwdriver. Now that we have that done, the next thing you'll notice is there's some countersinks in the end panels. There's 3 in the end panels, and then there's 2 at the bottom of the side panels. And what those are for is just support screws that are really just going to keep the sides and the ends from flexing or bulging out when you start packing stuff in here. So for that, we're going to take these number 8 by 3/4 self-threaders. Now for the video here, I'm using a type B, a blunt face screw. They're a little bit hard to get started, so we've actually decided already to change these over to more of a standard sheet metal style screw that has a point on it. So your crate probably has those. They're probably a lot easier to start than what I'm dealing with here. But in the meantime, this is all we have here now, so that's why I'm using these. And like I said, they're just a little bit hard to get started. Once you get them started, they go in just fine. These screws are 3/4 inches long, so even though they're just threaded into plastic, they're getting a pretty good bite on that plastic. There's a lot of threads engaged, so it's a pretty, it's pretty strong. with that said, just like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to over tighten them. Alright, so putting the last of the supporting screws in here. Snugging those up. Alright, so now we've got the crate fully assembled. You know, it's sturdy, rigid, not going anywhere. So the next thing we want to do is put the lid on. And the lid's going to come, it's got 4 holes down the perimeter, and it uses a bungee hinge. So the way we're going to do this, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our bungee and tie a knot into one end of it. Pull that to a nice tight knot. And then we're going to go through the first hole from the bottom. We're going to loop through our hinge, or through our the notch in the rail. Come up through the second hole, down through the third one, through the other hinge. My bungee's getting a little frayed here. And then down through the final hole. Okay, so this is the way that it's threaded, this is the way it connects. But we do want to get a little bit of tension on it, so I'm just going to, you know, you can set this however you want it. I'm just going to get a little bit of tension here. I like that this lid is kind of, you know, kind of loosey-goosey, because it actually, if you're opening it up and you've got to clear something, it actually gives you a little bit of clearance, but it's incredibly secure, so it's actually kind of a cool thing. So I've got this tension where I want it. Now I'm going to pull a little bit of extra, enough to give me room to tie a knot. And then I'm just going to clip right behind the knot, and then I can just kind of pull this to equalize the tension. So now we have the hinge. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make the latch. Okay, so to create the latch, what we're going to do, in the side panel, there are 2 holes just below the handle. They have a counter bore on the back side. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie a knot in one end of our bungee. And we're going to thread that through the first hole. And that knot's just kind of going to fit on the counter bore on the back side. And we're going to come through the other one. Okay, so then we just kind of pull it until, if you pull the string back there to make a little loop, when you've got about 1.5 inches of clearance there without stretching the bungee, that's probably going to be about right. Maybe a little more, maybe about 2 inches. That's going to be about right. That's going to give you about the right amount of tension. So we just pull this to the inside and tie a knot. Pull that nice and tight. So we've got about 2 inches there. And I'm going to clip off the excess on the inside. So now, when I close my lid, there's my bungee connection. Another way I've done this, if you want to make it just a little bit easier to open up, is take your bungee ahead of time and tie a loop near the end. Then you put each end that's left through the little hole inside the crate and tie a knot. Okay, so we've accomplished the same thing, but what's cool about this is now you have this little loop here that you can grab onto. It makes it a little easier. And if you want to take that one extra step, you can actually clip the loop. And then included with your crate is a little zipper pole. Take that, put it right on the end of which you clip there, and snap it down. So now that gives you even a little bit better of a handhold. If you want, you can put the zipper pull on without clipping it, but it's really tough. You might need a pair of pliers to do that. But anyway, so there you got it. Hinge lid, the latch, and now this is a complete crate.